Tiffany was 24, and until last week, she thought she was a functional adult. She lived in a 300 square feet studio where the ceiling fan made that ominous clicking noise heard in horror films right before the power cuts. She worked full-time as a billing assistant and studied web design part-time at night, which meant she slept almost never. But she had a plan, a quiet little plan with no balloons or confetti, just her and a slow-burn dream of getting out of her overpriced rental and one day owning something that was truly hers. She had $19,000 saved, earned by cutting coupons, skipping vacations, and saying no to everything fun for 3 years straight. Her parents knew about it, as did her older brother, Brian. That night was the usual Sunday dinner. Her father reheated something from the freezer that looked like it had lost a fight. Her mother opened her second bottle of Riesling. Brian, already 2 glasses deep, was explaining how middle management is where real leadership begins, like it was wisdom passed down from the gods. Tiffany sat there quietly, rehearsing the line in her head, "I bought a van. I bought a van. I bought a van." When her father finally asked, "So, anything new with you?" Tiffany took a breath and went for it. "Yeah, I bought something," she said. Her mother glanced up. "Oh, a van," Tiffany replied. The silence came fast and sharp. Brian raised an eyebrow. "For camping?" "No. To live in," Tiffany answered. Her father frowned. "How much did you spend?" 19 grand, she said. "Almost all of my savings." Her mother actually laughed. "You're joking." "I'm not. I've been looking for a while. It's in decent shape. I'll be converting it." Brian blinked. "You spent 19 grand to be homeless?" "It's not," Tiffany caught herself. "It's not that. I just need to save on rent while I finish school." Her father frowned. "And you didn't talk to us before doing this?" "It's my money," she replied. Her mother leaned back in her chair. "We thought you were saving for something real." Tiffany shrugged. "This is real." Brian was already shaking his head. "And here I am, scraping together funds for grad school. You could have helped instead. You bought a rust bucket." "I didn't realize I was legally required to sponsor your resume," Tiffany replied. "That's not what he means," her mother cut in. "We've always supported each other. That's how families work." "Funny," Tiffany said. "I don't remember it going both ways." "Don't start," her father warned. "I didn't," she replied. "I just sat there swallowing it." Brian made a noise like a laugh. "Look, if you didn't want to be part of the team, you could have just said so." "I don't think me living cheaply is some personal betrayal," Tiffany countered. "You didn't just make a poor financial decision," her mother snapped. "You made us all look ridiculous." That one actually stunned her. "Seriously?" "Yes, seriously," her mother said. "What are people supposed to think? That we can't even keep our daughter off the street?" "It's a van, not a sidewalk," Tiffany replied. "That's not the point." Tiffany didn't answer. Brian swirled his wine. "I mean, this is going to hurt my image too. You know how tight the circles are in finance." "Wow," Tiffany said. "This isn't even about me anymore, is it?" Her father gave her a long look. "You made your bed." "I made a bed platform," she muttered. "Out of plywood. It has storage underneath." Nobody laughed. "We're just disappointed," her mother said, voice low and flat. "You could have been part of something bigger, but you chose this." "I thought you'd be glad I'm trying," Tiffany said quietly. Brian stood. "We all make sacrifices, Tiffany. Maybe it's time you learned that." Her mother didn't even look at her when she said it. "If you want to be homeless and live in a van, then don't call yourself our daughter." There was silence. A part of Tiffany waited for her mother to take it back, or at least look at her, for someone, her father, Brian, anyone, to say it was a joke, that she didn't mean it. But no one said a word. It probably lasted 5 seconds, but felt like a year. Tiffany nodded slowly. "Right. That's all," she said. No speech, no sarcasm, just right. Then she picked up her coat and left. It wasn't dramatic. Nobody followed. The door clicked shut behind her, and that was it. She didn't even remember driving back. The next thing she knew, she was sitting in the van. The mattress was still propped against the wall, and the cheap curtain she'd tried to hang had fallen, sagging like it gave up halfway through. She sat down on the floor, no insulation yet, just cold metal and splinters. She didn't cry. She wasn't angry, just tired, heavy in a way she couldn't quite explain. And maybe it was weird, but her brain went to this one random memory when she was 10, when she taped cutout stars to her bedroom ceiling. Her parents helped her hang fairy lights. She remembered thinking, wow, they really love me. That memory had been doing a lot of heavy lifting since then, maybe too much. Tiffany thought being disowned would be the worst part. Turns out, that was just the beginning. She didn't remember driving back to the van. She just remembered sitting there in the dark, jacket still zipped, forehead pressed to the cold window. She kept replaying the dinner like it was a movie she'd seen 100 times, but only just now understood. If you want to be homeless and live in a van, then don't call yourself our daughter. That line, flat, effortless, like her mother was reading a weather report. She didn't cry. That would have made too much sense. She just sat there, trying to figure out how a sentence that short could scrape out your insides. And the worst part? She didn't see it coming. She honestly thought, stupidly maybe, that they'd be a little surprised, maybe even uncomfortable with her choice, but proud in their way. She wasn't asking for balloons or a parade. She just thought they'd see the effort, that she'd saved, that she was planning for something, that she was trying to make a life. But instead, she got erased. And maybe if that had been the only thing, just the dinner, just that sentence, she'd still be sitting in a confused fog, trying to excuse it. But the truth is, this didn't come out of nowhere. Her brother Brian was 6 years older than her. According to her parents, he was the family's investment property, a guaranteed return, a legacy. He was planned. She was not. When Tiffany was little, she used to think they were close. He let her tag along sometimes when his friends were over. She thought that meant something, but she thinks even back then, she was more of a mascot than a sister. It was always Brian first, and not in a cliché, oh, he's older, so he gets everything first way. She meant in a literal, everything goes to Brian way. They helped him get into his dream school, paid for tutors, prep courses, networking events. When he studied finance at Columbia, her mother called it a family effort, which is how Tiffany learned that family effort meant she got a part-time job in high school and contributed half her paycheck to his books and train passes. When she asked about saving for her own future, her father said, "You'll have more options when Brian's established. He'll help you." He didn't. He still hasn't. But every time she brought it up, she was reminded to be patient. He's got so much pressure on him, Tiffany. You'll get your turn. Her turn became a community college course she paid for in monthly installments. She didn't get a laptop. She used a dusty desktop she found on Craigslist. When she asked if they'd help her, even just a little, with tuition, her mother told her it was bad timing. "We just helped Brian with a down payment," she said, like it was a weather delay. "We'll circle back to you." That had been the pattern her entire life. They framed everything as a collective decision, a shared pot. If we all pitch in now, Brian can thrive, and then we all benefit later. But later became a ghost, a word used to keep her quiet. What killed her is she believed it for years. She believed that helping him was helping her, that they were a team, that if she just kept working, kept smiling, kept carrying the weight, eventually they'd turn around and say, "Hey, Tiffany, it's your turn now." They never did. When she moved into her tiny studio, they didn't help her haul boxes. They didn't help cover the deposit. Her mother actually frowned when she saw it and said, "Well, you chose this." And yeah, she did, because what other choice was she ever given? She didn't even get the hand-me-downs. Brian moved into a luxury condo with an in-unit gym. She got the folding chair from their garage and a passive-aggressive text from her father saying it builds character to furnish your own space. What's wild is how long she still hoped, that little voice saying, maybe they'll come around. You don't even notice it at first, but it keeps you soft, makes you second-guess yourself. And that softness? They used it. Every family dinner, every group text, it was always some version of we're all in this together, but she was never in it. She was orbiting it. She used to think she was the quiet one, the dependable one, the one who didn't ask for much. But now she thinks she was just the one who learned how to take up less space. It's like that one memory she always clung to. She was 10, decorating her room with these paper stars she'd made. Her father walked by and actually helped her tape them up. Her mother brought in string lights and plugged them in. They all sat there for a second, and it felt warm and right. She held on to that like proof. They do love me, they helped me, they saw me. But now she's not so sure. Maybe she's been remembering it wrong, or maybe she just wanted to so badly that she filled in the blanks. Maybe they helped out of boredom or obligation or because Brian wasn't home and she was the only available outlet for their energy that day. Still, she kept thinking, when she told them about the van, maybe they'd remember that moment. Maybe they'd help again, or at least smile. Instead, they called it an embarrassment, a shame, a mistake. And when her mother said she wasn't their daughter anymore, some part of her, some childish part, waited for someone to say she didn't mean it, for someone to take it back. They didn't. So there she was, in a van that still smelled like packing foam and hope, trying to untangle a family that only ever saw her when it was convenient. The worst part of realizing you were never the favorite isn't the injustice, it's the loneliness. You start questioning every hug, every smile, every kind word. Was it real, or just part of the script to keep you useful, to keep you invested in someone else's climb? Sometimes Tiffany caught herself still hoping they'd call, that someone would say, "We were wrong. We see you now." But mostly, she just wanted peace, a quiet corner of the world that was hers. Not borrowed, not assigned, not sacrificed for someone else's ambition. That's what the van was, not a rebellion, not a crisis, just a small, stubborn act of building something for herself. Something she didn't have to explain, something she didn't have to apologize for, something that was hers. And even if it was just 4 wheels and a plywood bed frame right now, it was still more than they ever gave her. Tiffany didn't walk away from her family that night. They let her go. That's the part they'll never admit. Thursday started off weirdly calm. The kind of calm you don't trust, like the eye of a hurricane, or the 10 minutes after you submit your final project and start convincing yourself you forgot to attach the file. She was halfway through scraping dried glue off a window frame in the van when someone knocked on the back door. She didn't even need to look. No one else knocks like they're owed something. She slid the door open, and there he was, Brian. Crisp button-down, nice jacket, and an expression that hovered somewhere between regret and smug reassurance. "Hey," he said. "You got a minute?" She should have said no, but she didn't. She stepped aside. He looked around like he was entering a museum exhibit. "Well, you've been busy," he remarked. She didn't respond. He pointed at the small bench she'd rigged from scrap wood and foam. "Can I sit?" he asked. She shrugged. He sat. She stayed standing. "I've been thinking about what Mom said," he started. "About disowning you." That was harsh. She raised an eyebrow. "Just that?" He sighed. "All of it. It got out of hand. Look, I know I've asked for a lot over the years, but you've always been the one we could count on." That word again. Count. "I didn't come to ask for anything," he said quickly. I wanted to say you were right about needing to do something for yourself. And this," he gestured around the van, "it's different, but it's smart. Rent-free, minimalist. It's kind of cool." She didn't buy it, but she wanted to. So when he offered to help finish installing the second curtain rod, she let him. "Just like when we helped you decorate your room that one time," he joked. And stupid her, She smiled. He stayed about half an hour, tightened a few bolts, made a joke about how she should post a van life video for his followers. Then she checked the time and said she had to leave for her shift. I could stay, he offered. You've got the instructions taped up. I'll finish the shelf you started. Her gut wobbled, but she wanted to believe. So she handed him the keys. Lock up when you leave, she said. He nodded like he meant it. When she got back, she noticed it before she even got out of the car. The door was cracked open, just a little, just enough to make the back of her neck go cold. Inside was a mess, not the kind of mess that comes from clumsiness, not the goops, I spilled paint kind. The mattress was slashed, foam shredded and strewn across the floor. The bench was ripped from the wall. Her storage bins were turned out, dumped, kicked. The curtain rod they hung together was bent in half. And the smell, acidic, like chemical cleaner, and something worse. She stood in the doorway for a long time, long enough for the reality to drip in, one agonizing thought at a time. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a break-in. She called him. He picked up after 4 rings, casual as ever. Hey, what's up? He answered. You were the last person in the van, she said. A pause. Yeah, I locked up. Why? Brian, everything's trashed. Another pause, then laughter, low and sharp. Oh, that. I mean, come on, Tiffany, you didn't actually think I was on board with this circus, did you? You said. I said what you needed to hear so you'd let me in. She couldn't speak. You should be thanking me, he said. Honestly, I did you a favor. You think living in a van makes you look independent? It makes you look unstable. She clenched her jaw. You destroyed my home. That thing wasn't a home. It was a publicity disaster waiting to happen. You live in that thing, and you make all of us look like trash. What happens when someone from my firm finds out? Or one of Mom's clients? She closed her eyes, trying not to scream. Look, I get it, he said. You wanted to prove something, but this was embarrassing. You should be glad I stepped in before you ruined your own life. And then he hung up. She stood there for a full minute, holding the phone like it might apologize. It didn't. The only sound was the wind rattling the bent paneling and her own breath, fast and shallow. She doesn't remember cleaning up, just flashes. Ripping open trash bags, pulling wet insulation from corners, trying not to cry when she found her web design textbooks soaked through. She didn't call her parents. What would be the point? They wouldn't believe her, or worse, they would, and they'd agree with him. What she did do, though, was open her browser. And that's when she remembered something Brian didn't know. Every night, she parked the van under the same light post, in the same lot, the one next to the old municipal building. The one with the security camera. Not for safety, not really. She just didn't want to take any chances. And just like that, she had what she needed. The footage wasn't hard to get. Turns out, when you tell the clerk at the municipal office that your brother trashed your van, and you have a timestamp and a batch number from the security post, they don't ask many follow-up questions. She filled out a form, waited 24 hours, and then there it was. Grainy but high-end footage of Brian letting himself in, staying for about an hour, and walking out like a guy who just finished taking out the trash. Except the trash was her life. She brought the footage to the police the same day. The officer watching the video didn't say much, just scribbled some notes and nodded at the parts where Brian kicked open one of the cabinet doors and yanked down the makeshift shelf she'd been so proud of. Vandalism, possibly criminal mischief, he said. You want to press charges? She blinked. Is there an option not to? He smirked a little. Some people don't like filing charges against family. She stared at the screen. Brian had just stepped on her string lights like they offended him personally. I think he gave up that title, she replied. Paperwork was filed. Case was opened. And that's when the real circus started. It took about 48 hours before her parents found out. She knew because her mother called her 11 times in a row and then sent a text that read, "Call me now." Family. That last word in all caps, like it was a hostage situation. When she didn't respond, her mother called again. She finally picked up on call 13. Her mother's voice came through, sharp and furious. "How could you do this to your brother?" Tiffany laughed, not a real laugh, one of those quiet, hollow ones that slip out when you've run out of ways to process. "He destroyed my van," she said. "He destroyed my home." "You live in a van, Tiffany. You disowned me for it, remember?" Her mother ignored that. "You're pressing charges. Do you know what this could do to his future?" "I'm aware. He's already on leave while they investigate. If he gets a criminal record, then he shouldn't have destroyed someone's property," Tiffany said calmly. "Actions have consequences. I thought you guys loved teaching lessons. That didn't go over well." Her father called next, then Brian himself, leaving her a 3-minute voicemail where he somehow managed to both insult her and play the victim in the same breath. Something about how she tricked him, how she set him up, how she was ruining his future over a pile of wood on wheels. She didn't respond, not to any of them. Then came the emails. Family members she hadn't heard from in years suddenly had very strong opinions. Apparently, taking legal action against your brother who called you unstable and then destroyed your home is going too far. One email actually said, "Blood is thicker than justice." She didn't know whether to laugh or frame it. The hearing came 2 weeks later. Brian showed up in a suit that probably cost more than her entire savings. He didn't look at her once, just stared straight ahead, like the very sight of her might stain his resume. The judge didn't take long. The footage was clear. The damage was extensive. He was ordered to pay restitution, $11,875 in total. And since this wasn't his first entitled outburst, apparently, there was an incident at work that HR had buried. He was placed on probation. A week later, her aunt forwarded her something she'd heard through the grapevine. Brian's admission had been quietly revoked. "They can't accept students with active charges or probation," she said. "He's devastated." Tiffany didn't respond, just stared at the message. It was done. The van was gone. The future he sacrificed it for? Gone too. She used the restitution money to buy a different van, one with actual insulation, real cabinets, a working heater. She found a mechanic who used to be a furniture maker, and together they built a little slice of peace on 4 wheels. By the time the seasons shifted, she'd finished her web design certificate. She took a job with a small agency that didn't care where she lived as long as she had Wi-Fi. She parked the van on the edge of a quiet field where wildflowers grew like weeds, and the sunrise came in through the back window like an apology. She found others like her. Quiet people, people who didn't fit the mold, people who needed space to breathe. Some lived in tiny houses, some in vans. All of them had stories. Hi besties, thank you so much for watching to the end. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.